Everyone. I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about families and partnerships with them. Chapter 7 discusses this quite in detail, so I'd like to bring out a few things from this chapter and from my own experience when it comes to working with families. We've all heard this expression, families are the children's first teachers. And that is so true, and we should never forget that. A child comes into a classroom bringing all of the aspects of their family and culture, ethnicity, everything with them. And we must address that and have that be a part of our working with young children. It's where you start, families. There were some common barriers mentioned in this chapter, and I'll just briefly mention what they are. And I think it comes mostly from like an elementary, middle school, high school standpoint when it comes to family involvement. Some of the common barriers, and you may have experienced this as you were in school. Schools frequently and most generally discourage parents getting involved. And they may have different expectations. The school has certain expectations, and the family may have different expectations. And also, there's a negative view of parent involvement. And the challenges of a family's diversity, everything that involves, can sometimes be very difficult in parent involvement. And also, teacher prep programs a lot of times don't prepare you. I look at our program, and you really don't have a lot of experience, if any, in actually working with parents of the children in our program. And basically that's due to confidentiality reasons, and we have to respect that. We've been able to see this past year especially at what happens when parents get involved in the schools. I'm sure in the media you have noticed a lot of it has been negative and a lot of it has been positive, but I look at it as positive because parents are getting involved, and parents should be involved in their children's education. They shouldn't let the schools just do whatever and not have any way to express what they feel is important. Another thing mentioned in your chapter was the frameworks. Where do we get? We get everything from theory and research, and it's the same with family involvement. 4 frameworks were mentioned, and I'll briefly state what they are. The first one is Joyce Epstein's framework, and your assignment for the week has to deal with that particular framework. And you'll have an opportunity to actually read what that framework is and answer some questions. She believed that there were overlapping spheres of influence. Of course, that sounds a lot like Bronfenbrenner and the family systems theory also. There was another one called Coleman's framework, and he was known for social capital, meaning that the home environment was the most important thing. Another one was Cochrane's framework, and he believed that the most important part of partnerships was parent empowerment, of which we've seen a lot of that too in the past year. The fourth one mentioned is known as Moll's framework, and it had to do with the most important aspect of parent involvement is cultural competence. I think we can say for sure that Head Start is the absolute best example of family involvement. From its conception in the 60s, it was based on parent involvement and what all that meant and what it looked like to parents. When my children were in Head Start, my daughter, I had to be involved. There may have been times I didn't want to be, but I knew it was necessary. And so I was able to volunteer every so often, usually once a month. They also believed in going right into the home and giving parents tools and an actual way to work with their children in the home environment. That is still going on today. I'm just going to end this short video with some of my tools that I've used through the years when working with parents. And I've done that for so many years, I won't even relate to you how many. And these are also things that are mentioned in your book, maybe not the same way as I would say it, First of all, the first time you have contact with the parents, for goodness sakes, make them feel welcome. Doesn't matter what they may look like. It doesn't matter anything. Just make them feel welcome. And answer any questions that they may have. Be open to what they are saying. And above all, respect confidentiality. Make sure parents are understanding how to fill out the application process. Be sure to provide them with that handbook that explains in detail, but most important, or I think one of the most important things, before they even have a child be accepted, make sure those parents understand that you are a play-based learning environment. And explain to them just what that means. You may not have a lot of other opportunities to do that later on, but at the initial sit-down application process, this is so important. Make sure they understand it is a play-based environment. That is how young children learn. And whenever disagreements occur, there are certain things you can say or ways that you can approach it that won't make it so offensive, hopefully not at all. But we know sometimes that enters into disagreements. You have to know how to talk with parents. A couple of expressions you could learn to use that most generally don't cause defense. Some things like, what you're saying is interesting. Would you please tell me more? Or, I really need to understand what you're saying, but let me rephrase what I think you're saying and correct me if I'm not understanding what you're saying. Could you tell me what you would say or what you would do? And also, just stay away from being defensive. Most always, they're not attacking you as a person. They're attacking maybe an issue. So you just need to learn how to go with the flow there and learn to say some things that can help you when you work with parents. And most of all, remember that parents aren't your enemy, and do your best to make them a partner and a friend during the years that you have their children in the learning process. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you.